Jazzcast Pros.
Getting back to why I started this podcast, I'm a big believer in remembering your why. Life can be hard and you have to grind sometimes. And so remembering your why is a positive mindset and headspace to be in when you're going through those seasons. And why I started this podcast is because at that point I was running my mastermind groups and we were having these incredible conversations in the masterminds. And I wanted to share some of those conversations and insights with other people because I just really felt that they could see themselves in the entrepreneur process and taking the stigma and the kind of shame element out of when business is hard or growing something is hard and saying, this isn't me, this is part of the process. And so I say all of that to say, I networked with someone last week. We connected on LinkedIn. She lives maybe 10 or 15 minutes from where I live. And so she said, hey, would you be interested in sitting down and having a cup of coffee? And so there is this dreamy cafe right down the street from her house. And so we met there last week. And we met for about 2.5-ish hours. And it was so lovely. And so, again, I have always wanted this podcast to be a space where I share things that come up in conversations with other entrepreneurs, along with having conversations with other entrepreneurs so that we all understand that when we hit bumps in the road, it's not saying we're on the wrong path. It's like our idea of success is, and the road to that success is paved with uneven ground and pivots and hurdles that we didn't know were there, but there's no shame in that. And so I wanted to quickly chat about the big 3 key takeaways that I took from my meeting with this person. I don't want to name them specifically because I have not gotten the consent to share, and I'm not going to share like details specifically, but I don't want to call them out in this without asking. Again, I want to get back to why I started this podcast, which was to have these conversations, share these conversations so you can really see yourself in the process. And this conversation with her showed me so much about my journey and what I'm struggling with at the moment. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the cautiously ambitious woman, remove mental barriers and take action now so that you can achieve your high vibe desires. I'm Rashawn, your high vibe curator, cheerleader, and accountability partner. The growth journey can be a roller coaster ride filled with highs and lows, expectations and disappointments, fear of the unknown. But here at the High Vibe Table, we take big dreams and break them into small action steps that can transform your life. So the first note that I take away from this discussion with her is community is everything. Like, we really can't do this alone. And why do you want to? Just sitting down and talking with her was so just this breath of fresh air. And so really finding people that are on this journey with you is just so impactful. And so put yourself out there. Like, find community. As her and I were talking, we were talking about RWN, Rochester Women's Network, and what I said is the more you put into RWN, the more you're going to get out. And that is saying someone who is very guilty of not participating a lot in RWN as of late. It's really been a struggle to find that balance, and it can easily be something that falls off. I am in a very busy season right now. If you talk to me for 5 minutes, you know that like athletics is a big part of my life, and we're getting into the busy season of lacrosse. And so if there's a repeat episode that comes out in the next probably 2 or 3 months, it's probably because my plate was overfilled and I didn't have time to sit down and record. And so, Jazzy and I were like, what can we use? What content can we repurpose for right now? And so I am the first one to let those sorts of things fall off my plate. And it just was a reminder that pouring into community, even just going down and sitting and having coffee with someone, like, you don't know what you're going to get out of it. It could be just a nice conversation. It could be this huge plan. Her and I have a plan to meet again this week because we just talked about some things in detail. I'm like, okay. And we just brainstormed some ideas. And so now we're going to put them into action today. And did I know that was going to come out of it? No, I didn't even know what her business was. And now there's like this collaboration that we could do. And so don't forget to pour into your community. You have no idea the impact that it could actually have. Number 2, and this was something that I heard years ago. And every once in a while, I need another reminder of it. And sitting down with her was a reminder of it, both for her business and my business. The idea is that you can't read the label from inside the bottle. So often we can sit and spiral and say, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? Why is this not working? And it kind of goes back to like community is everything, but sometimes we get so lost in the sauce and lost in our own stuff that it just takes another set of eyes to be like, hey, you see this thing right here? This is why it isn't working. This is what you're struggling with. And you're like, oh my God, that was it? That took you like 30 seconds to figure out. So it's just a reminder that look for that outside feedback. Again, if you have community, say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me like diagnose this? And there's no shame in that. Everybody struggles with that. You think about it, like LeBron James still has coaches. He still has people who cook for him and exercise him and help him in his game. Like the top level athletes still have people there who are like, hey, you need to do this. You need to do this. Like, don't forget to find that for yourself. And it's not that you need to go out and hire like, spend thousands of dollars on a coach. It's not that. Like, there are resources that are out there that are in your community, that are in threads, that are on Instagram, that would be happy to sit and chat and brainstorm about something that you're struggling with. And because they don't have all of the gunk that we do, just being humans and it being our own thing and having a fresh set of eyes can make such a big difference. And so, again, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. And so if you are having like a friction point in your business, reach out and find someone to just try to maybe diagnose, and maybe they're going to see something that is simple, but for whatever reason your brain is just going right over it. If you're listening to this podcast and need someone, I love doing that. So reach out to me if you're hitting a friction point and would like just to chat through some things. I'd be more than happy to. And also there are a lot of people, people probably already in your network that would be happy to do that. So we can't read the label from inside the bottle. The last one is we are our own worst critic. I have said this multiple times, but on the podcast for a while, I would do weekly wins. That was always really fun because I think that as entrepreneurs, we can spiral out on the things that are going wrong. And it's always nice to step back and say, but what's going well for me right now? What am I doing well? What is a win that I can sit with? And it can be really small. And there were a lot of times in my masterminds where we would talk about what's going on in our business, and they were like, oh, but this is happening and this is happening. And we would have to be like, stop. You just talked about like 5 things that went amazing. You just glossed right over those. Can we sit in that for a little bit? And, like as we were talking last week, there's so many times where it's like, oh, I can help so many other people do this thing that I'm great at. Why can't I do it for my own business? Like I spiral out on that a lot where like I'm selling a sales course and I get in my own head about how to sell a sales course. Like it's so easy to do and we all do it. And again, I think it is part of the process. If you have never felt that way, I think I'm so happy for you. And I think you are an outlier. But if you've ever been like, I can help write copy for other people's websites or social media and grow their business, and yet I'm struggling to write copy for my own website to get business. If you've ever gone through that, like that is totally normal. And I don't know what the reason is. Like Sometimes I see entrepreneurs and, they wear so many hats in the beginning because they're doing it all themselves, and they get to the point where they like kind of burn out because they're just juggling so many balls, and so then they have to transition and start to create processes and systems. I have episodes on creating systems so you don't hit that burnout. And also, I think sometimes getting towards that edge is a rite of passage as an entrepreneur. And that might be a little like grim. I don't know. But I've just seen so many people go through it, even though there's so many people out there talking about systems, putting systems in place and trying to be like, hey, I'm trying to help you and save you from going through that thing. And I think a lot of those conversations help people snap out of it sooner. But I still think you need to scratch your knee and be overwhelmed at one point so that you understand the importance of the system, you understand what is needed out of each of the processes, because you were so like in the weeds that you're like, I know this so deeply, and so I know how to create a system around it. Anyways, I kind of went on a tangent there. That narrative that runs through our brain of like, why can I do this for other people's businesses and I can't do it for my own, is something that happens to so many of us. And I always talk about how you first have to have the awareness that this is happening so that you can then take an action to change it. As I was talking with this woman, we were just going through like all of the shame that we put on ourselves. Like, with my ADHD, like I struggle with laundry so bad and house clutter in general. Like right now, my sink is full of dishes. My dishwasher is clean. I need to empty to get the other dishes in there. I have like 2 weeks worth of laundry that I need to get going. I have the laundry washing machine is actually full. I just haven't gotten it started yet. So anyways, I walk into my house and subconsciously, I don't even mean to have that conversation happen in my brain, but it does around why can everyone else have a nice, clean house? Why can everyone else stay on top of laundry? Why can everyone else juggle building a business and after school sports? Why can everyone else do whatever it is that we're having a hard time getting done? And it doesn't even in our brain, I've done episodes on neuroplasticity and rewiring the conversations that happen in our brain, because the thoughts that we have are so subtle and like they're not actual, like, oh, why am I so bad? It's you walk in and it's just this like feeling that takes over and is underlying the conversation I'm having with my daughter or my husband, or while I'm sitting down and recording a podcast, I'm still thinking about all that stuff that needs to happen. And so being aware that that is happening and understanding what that feels like in your body and then being able to release it is really important, because that can happen so quickly and can really put us into like freeze, because I know that I should be working on my business and I know I should be doing laundry and I know I should. And so then we just don't do anything. And that's the worst thing we can do for ourselves and our business. Because is the right answer to work on my business right now or do laundry? I don't know. But the worst thing I can do is nothing. And so we do get in our own heads. The biggest part I think of my sales course is the mindset piece, because if you don't have that right, it's hard to create momentum on everything else. So the 3 takeaways from my conversation last week and what I wanted to share with you, and I hope this creates some positive momentum in your business this week, is community is everything. Find someone this week and reach out to them. Have coffee with them. You can't read the label from inside the bottle. So if you're having friction or stuck with something, reach out to someone and have them help work you through it. Because even if they don't know the answer, sometimes just talking it out with someone else, not to rehash this again, but talking it out with someone else uncovers stuff that we didn't realize was buried. And we are our own worst critic. One of the things I like to do in my mastermind is we always name our critic, like negative Nancy. And so when those thoughts start to creep up, you're like, hey, Nancy, nice to see you. I need you to take a seat right over there. Thank you. And so naming it and giving it an identity to say, like, thank you for showing up. You are not needed at the moment can be really helpful. So we are our own worst critic, and all of these friction points are part of the process. They don't mean that you are not meant for this process. So if you have a business friend who you think may find this helpful, please send them this episode. I would love if you shared it with someone who may be struggling with some of the same things. So until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.